I fell into a burning daily grind. I went down, 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 and the daily kept grind. Welcome to the Daily Grind. And if you don't know who that was Johnny Cash, the first boy band, the Highwaymen. Welcome to the Daily Grind. Man, I listened to some Johnny Cash yesterday, and I was like, you know what? Let's just start it. Start it with the Man in Black.
Oh, man.
He's the G. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Luke Hatmaker. It's Thursday, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays, days that start with T, I got Rusty with me. Buckets, how are you, brother? You good this morning?
I'm good, man. You know, my illustrious co-host, Uncle Buck, always comes to you live from Northeast Mississippi. Yeah. I am coming to you live from Northeast Mississippi. I'm at my dad's house helping him out. He's recovering from a little bit of surgery, so thoughts, prayers, well wishes to Rock Man. But we're here. We're happy to be here, man. It is a great Thursday.
Did you call your dad Rock Man? That's bad A.
Well, his name is Rocky, first of all, which is awesome. And so Rockman is the natural nickname there, right?
Dude.
Yeah.
I really hope he photobombed. I hope he does what Uncle Buck's kids do. And I hope I just see him like walking in the background.
Awesome. He's probably fast asleep in his chair, or he would.
So he's probably on medicine and sleeping. I feel him.
He's somewhere around Saturn right now, so I don't know that we'll see him.
Man, sometimes there's I've never heard that, somewhere around Saturn, and that's hilarious. Enough about prescription drugs. Welcome to the show. We're going to talk some Grizzly stuff. We talked a lot about Zach Edey this week. I've noticed. I was going through this week of shows. I was like, we've had a lot of questions, and we've talked a lot about Zach Edey this week. It's been fun though, you know. We've talked a little bit of football. ESPN recently just did it's where they go and they ask like 50 executives, I think. Is that what it is? They go around, they ask them all these questions about like best player now, best player in 5 years, who's going to be the MVP, blah, 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 blah. They ask them who will be the 24-25 NBA Rookie of the Year. And the favorite as of now is like, I don't want to say the unanimous favorite because there is someone behind him with a few votes, but Zach Edey had 8 first place votes. 8 votes to, I say first place. He got 8 votes to win Rookie of the Year. Pretty awesome for the first time. It feels like there's no disrespect. ESPN, I feel like, is normally notorious. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if I pulled this up like when I was looking at this, if Edey didn't even appear. That's after the 9th seed in the West, you know, like this made me feel good because he is good. I mean, he's going, let me rephrase that. He's stepping into the most likely situation to win the award, I would say.
Yes. And I think that's kind of what they're banking this on, right? Because they didn't even put Ja freaking Morant in who will be the best NBA player in 5 years. Like, he's not even on that list. So the disrespect is still there.
Stupid.
But yeah, I mean, Edey couldn't have stepped into a better situation for his skill set, for his size, and offense that's going to fit him. Like, Memphis was the best case scenario for Zach Edey. And on draft night, I'll own it. I'll eat my crow. I did not think that. But, you know, I'm a man. I can admit I'm a man. I'm 40. I can admit when I was wrong. I'm not quite 40, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I can admit when I was wrong. And like just seeing how like even in just these little brief IG videos, like Zach Edey was made to play alongside John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. because we have the recipe there, right? When Tripp and Steve-O played alongside, it made Tripp infinitely better. And I think now we're going to have the opposite. I think Tripp's going to make Edey so much better and able to do what he does.
Yep,
man.
I agree. Morning King Meeks, you are correct right here. Man, I mean, it's not even recency bias. It's just because we were talking about this yesterday. We were writing stuff about every game. We had to watch some awful games.
Yes.
Watching those, that's recency bias because that Tripp insert big here, like that combination was lethal.
I mean, goodness, like it allowed Tripp to win Defensive Player of the Year and ball hawk like what he's good at. Tripp is a high intelligent, high IQ defender, and so freeing him up to run, you know, like corner to corner and play defense is going to put everybody on notice. And maybe that's why people are talking about us, is because they're afraid of us. It's like one of those themes, like you look at that game on the schedule and you're like, damn, I got to play Memphis this week. Because, you know, we're going to beat you up defensively, and Zach Edey only makes us better at doing that.
Yeah. You know, you're going to have a bunch of dudes in your face the entire game. It's going to suck.
Well, it kind of embodies Memphis, right? Like it's rough, it's gruff, it's not the most polished, but it's fun for those of us that are in it. We love it. It's our brand of ball. It's bully ball, and
You're working.
Yeah, you're gonna have to work a lot harder on the nights that you play Memphis than you do playing the Clippers or playing the Jazz or playing these other teams. And teams want that smoke, and that's fine. It's just like the grit and grind era, right? Like teams in the mud, and we loved that. But it's not sexy for mainstream media. It's not sexy for ESPN, but it's a winning brand of basketball.
Yes. I feel like this isn't supposed to be a Tripp conversation, but I feel like that Tripp Defensive Player of the Year, people have just kind of forgotten about it. And it's really bizarre to me. And it's people didn't want to reward him in the first place because he still seems to be the guy in so many people's minds who doesn't play enough minutes because of foul trouble. And he hasn't been that player in over a season and a half. I just don't. I am so excited to see what him and Edey can do for each other.
It's such a testament to, like, you could get stuck in a narrative, right? Because you watch a few Grizz games early on, and Tripp got into foul trouble. But I read a stat last year that in the calendar year, I think I read the stat sometime in February, they were kind of giving TJ some flack about benching Jaren early, and we lost several games over the last few years because of TJ's rotations. But we'll save that for another pod. But Jaren had more at that point. It may have been like February or March. He'd had more 40-plus point games than he had fouled out in the last calendar year. So the statistics say that Tripp is more likely to go off than he is to foul out. But kind of tying it all back together, when he has that center anchor like Steven Adams was, Zach Edey can be that guy because they play a similar brand of basketball. That's only going to make Tripp just infinitely better. I mean, again, the guy's one of the best IQ defenders in the game, and being able to play more free and not have to worry about playing that true defensive center position. I mean, we really gonna get teams in the mud now.
Before last season, I believe TJ had this team defensively in the top 10. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it was he had jumped exponentially. It was 12th. 7th, 2nd, in 3 years, that defense was suffocating.
That's what he does. He's what he does. Coach.
Yep. And with Edey is going to be able to play play a way that he has not been able to play for the past 4 years. But clearly, I mean, I know it's hype videos, but he clearly is able to play this way. He is just moving with a sense of aggression in these videos of just practicing more so than I ever saw at Purdue. And so that's exciting. And you throw that into this, it's just going to be good. It's going to be hard to play. The only other guy that got votes, I'm going to bring this back to the Rookie of the Year. The only other person who got any votes to speak of other than a single vote here and there was Reed Shepherd. So if it's Reed Shepherd and Zach Edey, if that's your 2-horse race, we're projecting. There's always going to be someone that comes out of nowhere and surprises you. I don't think it's going to be Alex Sarr is listed here. Stephon Castle's listed here. It might be Castle.
For me, it could be De Silva in Orlando. That guy's got a ton of talent. Ton of talent. And
and he's going to play.
He's going to play a lot. He's on a young Orlando team. They're kind of finding their identity. I've said it on this show. I've said it on the 2 Buck Sports show. I think Orlando's kind of a dark horse in the East to make some noise. I don't think they're going to play in the NBA Finals, but they made the playoffs last year ahead of schedule. They're young. They have everybody coming back. They added KCP, but De Silva fits what they do. He's not the best pure shooter, and that may be one of the things that Orlando's missing, but the guy's a bucket, and he's big and he's talented. But for me, he would be the one that comes out of nowhere. But I kind of see where your line of thinking is. But go ahead and finish your thought. If it comes down to Edey and Shepherd, I mean,
Shepard's there's a lot of guys on that Houston team. We know he can score. We know he's got a great shot. But there's a lot of lottery picks on that team.
There's a lot of mouths to feed, and can he come in and be that alpha? He can, because he can score, but does he have the ability to walk in that locker room and say, I am going to take over this game? Time will tell. If so, it's going to be his. And honestly, national media may lean more towards him because we're a scoring league, right? Bill Walton used to always say, show me the team that shoots the most threes. I'll tell you the team that wins, right? So Reed Shepherd can shoot and he can score, and that's more sexy, and people like that. And so if it comes down to that, then Reed Shepherd will probably win. But I get what you're saying. There's the Thompson brothers, there's Dylan Brooks, there's all these guys that are going to be taking shots, and we all know at nauseum that Dylan Brooks is going to shoot his shots, unfortunately. Alfred Sengun gets a ton of touches, and so there's a lot of mouths to feed. But if Edey can come in and be that guy that's just like, let's say he averages close to a double-double. Maybe it's like 9.9 points and 11 rebounds, right? And then he gets 2 to 3, stocks a game. I mean, that's going to be hard to argue with from a rookie production standpoint.
No question. And assuming he averages that, he will also have some 20 and 15 games in there. Like that's
absolutely.
If he has a couple games that are just trying to do air quotes, mixed with parentheses, highlight reel, like if he can average a double and then have some highlight reel games, he's the kind of rookie that the league loves to crown. I mean, there's people voting for Alex Sarr just because they like voting for a really cool big, like a high energy big. It's
because there are people like me that grew up in the 90s on like true center basketball, and I love that. I'm like, that was my heyday. Like Elijah Wan and Alonzo Mourning are probably my 2 all-time favorite players. Like I just love the way that when the game played through the center. So I'm freaking here for it, man. And like, shout out to Edey Muse on Twitter and some of these guys that keep posting like Edey highlight videos. Like, yes, the Big Ten is an elite level college basketball conference. Like there's a lot of good guys that come out of that, but he's also playing against a bunch of future State Farm agents and accountants and stuff. So I recognize that. But the guy can just like, he flips a switch and can be dominant. And that's not going to go away. He has that killer instinct. We saw it when he stood up for Jake LaRavia. We saw it in the post-game Final Four interview when he was like, they doubted us. They don't know us. We're just fucking winners. And like, you give me a guy with an attitude like that also happens to be 7 foot forever and 3 spins. And I'm going to show you a guy who has a real shot at the Rookie of the Year.
Yep. Well, and you talk about a guy that might gun for it the whole year because he wants it. The drive, that switch that you just mentioned is so impressive. I was looking at just photos of the dude from Summer League trying to find images to use for future shows. And in every one of them, you're like, oh, what's Edey doing here? And it's like, that dude looks like he's murdering somebody. In every picture, it looks like he is playing to kill his opponent and to win. And that's fantastic.
To tie it back to Game of Thrones, because that's what we do on the show. He's got that Sir Davros scowl all the time. Like, Davros is always scheming and scowling and looking at things. That's Zach Edey. Literally the only person that could get him to smile during team photo day was his mama. Like the boy is just like locked in already, and it's August. You know what I mean? Like we've still got a long time before tip off, and he's locked in. He's in the lab with Ja. He's doing all the things. He's checking all the boxes for me as a Grizzlies fan. That is getting me more and more hyped. Luke, I've already gone to like 15 home games so far.
I know you're ready.
And I was looking at preseason tickets this morning because I'm just so ready. Like I popped on Facebook, and in one of the for sale groups, somebody's like, I got 6 row tickets for the second preseason game. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, you just bought a truck. I don't know if you can do that, but they might be mine before the end of this show. I don't know. I've bought tickets on air before. I'm just saying, I'm excited. Like I'm locked in and ready to go.
Man, I am. It's 54 days to the start of the season. I counted yesterday. So we're 8 weeks, less than 8 weeks. Which is really, really cool.
Man,
we're 8 weeks away from basketball, but we're less than a week. When does football starts? A week from today?
College football season really starts this weekend. Next Thursday, 1 week from tonight. I think it's like the Chiefs and it's a good game. It's the Chiefs and the Jets. Maybe I think it's the Chiefs and the Jets that kick off on Thursday night.
Man, it is. I'm starting to get pretty excited. We've been talking football all week. We talked college football on Monday. I'm going to talk college football next Monday. I'm so excited just to recap weekends once college football starts. We talked quarterbacks, we talked wide receivers and tight ends. I want to talk about running backs today because back in my day, running back was the premier position, and now
back in the 90s.
Back in the 90s and in the 85s, Ravens versus KC. That's
it. Still killer game.
Running back seems the value of the running back in the NFL and just like it seems at an all-time low. Is that? I mean, it's weird, man. Like,
because like you said, I grew up. I was a fan of football in the 90s. Like I was born in 80, the year of our Lord, 1987, and so I grew up. I heard that. I grew up on Eddie George as a Titans fan. I grew up on the bus. Ricky Waters. There's your throwback name from the Seahawks and the 49ers. Like I love like those good, just shifty running backs. Marshall Faulk, like all those good running backs. Matt Forte is one of my favorite fantasy football players of all time. Dude was a freaking stud for Chicago in the early 2000s. And we've got like that level of talent
Yes.
But it's very much a run and gun, RPO, pass happy offense right now. We've gone away from that. And you've seen the running back position shift. And we'll talk about a lot of guys that are in that position where you can hand them the football, you can get them out in space, line them up out wide. The receiver, the running back position has shifted more to almost like that H-back when I was kind of coming up of like hybrid, like running back, receiver, like fullback, tight end kind of thing. It's making a small comeback, but we've seen it, right? Like nobody gets paid anymore, right? Like there was that big, what was that last year before when Derrick Henry and Saquon and JT were all kind of combined together, like talking about how little running backs get paid.
Yeah.
But it's partly because their shelf life is so short. I mean, the average NFL career is what, like 2.5 years at most, and running backs might even be less than that. And it's a sad state of affairs.
Well, I mean, and you look at, this is a great example. You look at like who ESPN has ranked as some of the top running backs, and a lot of them are still on their first contract. Like the guys on here that are Christian McCaffrey's ranked number 1, and I would argue that he is the guy that you can still bank on
every day.
I mean, he gets hurt, but even when he's he comes back. Like
he'll have like tying it back to fantasy. He'll have a 26-point game. He'll get hurt and he'll come back and have a 24-point game. Like he just doesn't miss.
He doesn't miss. He's excellent. After that, though, I mean, like you got guys like Breece Hall, who was drafted late. You know, like these are guys that are drafted late in the first round. You don't have to draft you don't have to spend a high pick on it. You've got Breece Hall. You've got, I would put Saquon in there. You've got Bijan Robinson. These are dudes that are all really capable backs. Like you said, the H-back can catch. I would put all these guys, really shifty dudes. Jonathan Taylor is more of your classic running back. I still don't really know what to do with him
because he's brittle, but when healthy, yes.
Nick Chubb is ranked high to them. I'm scared to death of him. He's had 2 awful two reconstructive knee surgeries in the same knee.
I'd still bet on him though, man, because he's only proving he's coming back. I'd put Isaiah Pacheco in there too.
He's
for the Chiefs. He runs like a toddler, but like he runs angry, right? Like you watch that dude run like, but he runs angry, and I love that. Like it's like an all-time running back. King Meeks is asking for our top 5 all-time running back.
All time.
Let's do that kind of towards the end of this segment. I think we can do that. Yeah. But like David Montgomery is kind of more of that throwback running back for the Lions, but then you still have shifty guys like your boy DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard for the Titans, you know. Najee Harris kind of falls in that. Alvin Kamara, they're kind of that like Swiss Army knife running back that aren't on the same level as CMC, but they kind of play similarly. You know what I mean?
Yes. This is just, I'm curious. You know, we could talk about more of these running backs, but how do you think we're gonna do Homer shift for a minute? Derrick Henry. How do you think he's gonna do this year?
He's gonna break my heart because watched him, like he broke my heart. Like I got tired of watching him just beat our ass when he was at Alabama for 3 years. When I'm Mississippi State's my alma mater, and he just terrorized us for 3 years. Then I got to root for him for a long time in Tennessee, and it was awesome. I'm like, this is what it feels like to be a fan of a good Alabama team. This is wonderful. Great. And now he's with one of our biggest AFC rivals in the Ravens. And so he's going to have a big year because he always does. He's like, I don't expect him to go rush for 2,000 yards, but he will be one of the more productive backs in the NFL. And this will be one of the first times he has like a countermate that can help take some of that pressure off. It's like back in the day when the Titans had Thunder Lightning with Rondell White and then or Lindell White and then
Fat Lindell.
Fat Lindell, and then they had the other guy, and I'm blanking on Chris Johnson. Thank you. CJ2K. Thank you. CJ2K. You had like the 1-2 punch. You've got that in Baltimore because Lamar can be that quick, shifty running back from the quarterback position. Don't like Raven fans don't come at me in the comments like he is a quarterback. But like that combination is going to prolong Derrick Henry's career because like you talking about it'll be like instead of like an RPO, it'll be like an RRO, like a run option.
Run option.
Do you give it to Derrick Henry or do you keep it as Lamar? And that's going to be lethal in Baltimore.
Man, he's the guys that are still carrying the torch for like that old school style running back. Derrick Henry might be at the head of that because the dude 100%. He's 6'4", right? No, he's 6'4".
He's pushing 6'4", probably 230, and just built like an absolute workhorse.
Big
good
guy.
Luck.
Good luck. Who is if there's someone who's somebody that maybe I don't want to say a sleeper, but who's someone that you're in on that maybe a lot of guys aren't talking about this season?
Yeah, I picked him up in my fantasy draft. There's 2. Can I have 2? Is 2 okay?
Thank you.
Hopefully I won't steal yours.
Of course.
One, he kind of carried me last year late, especially, and I almost won the League of Avengers League with him. Travis Etienne for the Jaguars is a good little running back. Like, he's not big, but he's shifty, and you can get him in space, and he's quick. And he's just a goal line workhorse for Jacksonville. You know, if he was on a better team, like, you would probably hear more about him. But I'm a big Travis Etienne fan. But for me this year, I drafted him as my flex. I think he's in a new situation. He also has a quarterback who struggles with the forward pass. I think Aaron Jones landing in Minnesota is going to be very good for him. When he's healthy, he's had that nagging hamstring injury for the better part of like a season and a half now. Yeah. But when he's healthy, man, like, he is very productive. He's very strong, very versatile. I look for him to bounce back in Minnesota, if nothing else, like, because they can't really throw the ball, and they'll probably stack the box some on him some, but get him on a bubble screen, you know, a swing out or something. I like Aaron Jones in Minnesota.
Yeah, those weren't who I had, but I like both those guys a lot. Two guys that I like, this is a homer pick. I like DeAndre Swift a lot. He had 1,000. He was a Pro Bowler and had 1,000-yard season with the Eagles, you know. And I just think that
he's big. He's good looking back, man.
Good looking back. I really like James Cook with the Bills. That is a dude that I picked him up in fantasy, and I think he was in like the top 5 running backs back half of the season last year. He just kind of, and I think they're going to run the ball more with. I mean, I don't know who Josh Allen might. He's running out of receivers to throw to, so I could see them. Running the ball a lot.
That's right. That's a good situation fit for him because that's one thing Buffalo's really been missing for ever now. I mean, when they've had Singletary, they've had Moss, they've now got Cook. Like, they've kind of run through running backs. They really haven't had one since Thurman Thomas, I guess, which is a real throwback. But I think that's going to, because Shady went there at the tail end of his career, LaShawn McCoy, and just wasn't the same. But I like James Cook. That's a good fit there. I'm curious how Joe Mixon's going to fit in Houston because he was a great asset in Cincinnati, but Houston loves to throw the football. So I'm curious. ESPN has him ranked pretty high, just under James Cook. But I like James Cook, and I'm a fan of DeAndre Swift. He's a big back. I think he fits what Chicago does. Him and Khalil Herbert will be a good tag team, 1-2 punch. I like Swift in Chicago.
We'll hit on this before we give our top 5 running backs. Who do you think is the biggest threat to Kansas City in the AFC?
I mean, I think it's got to be the Ravens. I mean, they tooled up. They got better. They added Patrick Queen at linebacker from the Steelers. They added Derrick Henry. Like, they were good last year, and they got objectively better. I'm high on Lamar. I picked him up in fantasy. I think he's going to have a super productive year with Derrick Henry. Mark Andrews, if he can stay healthy, like, that's an offense that's going to click. And as much as I want to be a homer and talk about how the Titans picked up Ernest Jones and are getting objectively better week after week, I still don't trust Mayonnaise Boy. I think it's Baltimore for sure.
I would say Baltimore and maybe the Texans if you want to go with the young upstart. But Baltimore has the most proven
and
coach too. They got a great coach.
They do. And Miami might be on that list a little bit, but we don't know what they're going to do defensively, but they're going to score points by the bunches, man.
They got Vic Fangio, who's one of the best defensive coordinators, and he's a old Bears guy. I love him. So could be up for anybody.
Yeah.
Before we go to break, let's give a top 3. Let's condense it down to 3. I can go. I'll give you my top 2. My top 2 are easy. I'll go ahead and give you my top 3 because
go ahead.
Walter Payton's number 1. Always will be number 1. He's my favorite. He's my favorite. Matt Forte's number 2 for me. That's another homer pick. But like, when you were a Bears fan for the majority of our lives, like, when they were bad, Matt Forte was about the only reliable thing on that team for so long.
Good. He stole one of mine. I'm gonna have to come up with another third one, right. but Forte is good, man. That's a good man. Pick.
And then this my third one is just based on I ran into him in an airport once. Marshawn Lynch. I know that's silly, and I know
that's great.
Everything about the dude, he's chill. I saw him in an airport, and he was sitting like catty corner from me. I was in Denver, and I was just like, "That Marshawn Lynch," and he had Skittles, and he had these big old headphones on, and he was just smiling every now and then, just jamming. And I was like, man, I'm not gonna bother this guy. I'm gonna let this guy chill. And that's incredible. He was just. I still remember that beast mode when they put when they get the Richter scale like it was a 7-point something earthquake in Seattle on that run. I don't know. There's so many
off every Saint defender. Yeah.
Yep. There's a lot of when I think of running backs, there's a lot of runs that are burned into my mind that are Marshawn Lynch. I love Eddie George. I love Jerome Bettis a lot. I got Jerome Bettis' autobiography within reach. There's a lot of guys that I like, but those are probably my top 3.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. That's a good top 3 for me. Eddie George is number 1 as a Titans fan. I shook his hand at Adelphia Coliseum back when that's what it was called in the 98 season, or no, the 2000 season, the Super Bowl season. 2000, yeah. I like Eddie George. He was a bigger running back. He was great. They bounced off people. It was an awesome running back. Number 2 for me, I'm going to go Frank Gore. I love Mr. Durability. Watching Frank Gore play for 30 years, like he got drafted.
He's still playing.
Yeah, I know. And then we got Frank Gore Jr. now. Like the guy's just a stud, just a workhorse. Never was like the flashiest back, but he was very dependable and very good. And then King Meat stole my thunder in the comments. LaDainian Tomlinson is the best running back I've ever watched in my entire life. I love CJ2K for the Titans, but LT did it first. LT did it best. Dependable he was the first one of the first out of the back shifty running backs that came out of relative obscurity in TCU, played for the Chargers forever, and was just a freaking stud, man. Back when the Charger uniforms were really legit with the navy and yellow and white. Big LT fan, and he was the first to be of this generation. He like kind of paved the way for this generation running backs and was awesome.
Man, that's LT was, man. I'm gonna put up King Meek's list up here too. This is a good solid list. I had a dude in fantasy that just drafted Frank Gore every year that he could.
Yeah,
just even when he was like the 3rd string for Indy, he was like, I'm gonna get him,
because he would come in and he would have that one game where he'd have 3 touchdowns and 150 yards, and then he'd go back to the bench.
And you'd be like, what the hell? What the hell, man?
What is this? Like, listen, my fantasy claim to fame, kind of the opposite of that. There was a season where my team name was I benched Kenny Britt because I had Kenny Britt for the Titans. He was terrible. I benched him, and then he literally had a 51-point game because he had like 4 catches, 4 touchdowns, 400 yards. And so my team name the rest of the year was I benched Kenny Britt.
Kenny Britt. Also, shout out, OJ was good for a minute. I feel like we're going to take a quick break. After this break, we're not going to talk about OJ. We're going to talk about other things.
If it fits, you must have quit. Does not fit, you must have quit.
We can talk about OJ, right? He passed away. I don't know. OJ, if you're listening, I'm sorry. We're going to take a quick break. And after this, we will play a little game of Trap right after this break.
One of the questions as far as my writings for the Wizards was, what's going to happen with Tyus Jones? And I kind of was able to narrow it down. He had 3 teams that he was primarily looking at, and that were the Memphis Grizzlies, the Phoenix Suns, and the Atlanta Hawks. From my understanding, Memphis they offered him more money. Memphis offer was somewhere around $5 to $6 million, but they wouldn't have given him an opportunity to start. And I believe that was something that was really important for him.
I'm not saying that what you're saying isn't true, but I don't think the Grizzlies actually made a serious run at Tyus Jones. And at that number, I don't even consider that serious. You know what I mean?
A lot of people in Memphis didn't really want to believe that the Grizzlies were interested in Tyus Jones. And I think from what I saw on the internet, a lot of that has to do with you guys' expectation of what Scottie Pippen Jr. is going to be. The Memphis Grizzlies very much like Scottie Pippen Jr., but I'm also here to tell you they went out and tried to get a backup point guard.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Representing your country and winning, I think I'd black out on the podium. Because when I watch these people whose names I won't remember a week from now, and they're on the podium and they have tears and I start crying because I'm like, what a moment for this person. I'm getting a little nervous talking about it right now, BK.
I would shed 3 tears.
Oh.
I wouldn't be nose running crying. Not that crying. There's levels to this crying game. There's
shoulder shaking.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Even when the tears stop, you still like, that's when you used to get in trouble. No, your parents used to give you, that's when you used to get beaten.
You stop.
Yes, you better stop crying.
Exactly.
Put that thing on that bottom lip.
I'm not crying.
Right, yeah. I would definitely be up there. I would cry.
Tune in to the Night Court Podcast with your hosts, Rob Fisher and Brevin Knight, on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the Daily Grind. You catch that show. We got a whole lot of shows over at bluffcitymedia.co. We've got Night Court. That will be today?
Today.
Is it Thursday? Man, my week has been.
It's either today is Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Yeah.
It will be today.
Mm-hmm.
$2 Sports Show will be tomorrow. At 3.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Sane will be tomorrow. It was also yesterday.
You may want to watch the Anthony Sane show tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Just saying.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it. That's a preview. Watch the Anthony Sane show tomorrow.
Foreshadowing.
Chekhov's smoking podcast. But yeah, all that and Jess Benson. She's on right now over at Grind City Media. But we're BluffCityMedia.co. Lots of stuff. Our show. Every Thursday we play a little game in honor of Rear Admiral Akbar, almost mascot for the Ole Miss.
Ole Miss Akbars.
Akbars would have been great. We play a little game called It's a Trap. It's fun. It's a little trivia game. The rules are I'm going to hit our guests with a series of trivia questions based on a topic of my choice. This week, it will be running backs, NFL running backs, not CFL running backs. I wouldn't do that to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Half the questions will be fake. Half of them will be real. All you have to do is say yes if it's real or it's a trap if it's fake. That's it. You don't even have to answer them right. If you want bonus points, you can answer it right. You know, you play, you get it. All right. First question. Which NFL running back holds the record for most career rushing yards?
Yes.
Yes. Do you know who it is?
OJ's in my brain, but that's not right.
That's close, but
Jim Brown.
Emmitt Smith.
Yeah, he broke Jim Brown's record. Yeah.
Yep.
Here's Emmitt.
Which NFL running back scored the most rushing touchdowns in a single season?
Yes.
Yes. Which NFL running back was known for wearing the number 99 and playing exclusively barefoot?
It's a trap.
It's a trap. I don't think you can play barefoot anymore. I know kickers used to. Used to. Weirdos.
That's wild. You remember that guy for the Saints that had half a foot they used to kick? I can't remember his name, but he had the NFL record for the longest field goal for the longest time with half a foot.
I wasn't planning on doing a kicker episode, but we might just do one to talk about that guy.
Might have to.
Just do it. Next question. Who was the first NFL running back to rush for over 2,000 yards in a season?
Yes.
Yes. Do you know who it was?
It wasn't Chris Johnson. It was before him.
We talked about him earlier.
It was LT.
OJ.
Oh, yeah.
I only know that from a Chappelle joke where he's like, he goes, with all due respect, ma'am, that murderer ran for over 2,000 yards. It's so good. Which running back holds the record for the longest single run of 175 yards due to a penalty extension?
It's a trap.
Crap, I'd be wild. Which NFL running back famously used a wooden staff as a training tool that he brought to every game?
That sounds like a Walter Payton thing, but it's a trap.
Can you imagine just like like a
he walks out like Gandalf with the big staff. You shall not pass. Run the damn ball.
Run the damn ball. Yes.
You shall not pass.
I would love that. Which running back was the MVP of Super Bowl 31?
Yes.
Yes. This is a little bit of a trick question because he was also a kick returner and a wide receiver. It was Desmond Howard. He did a little bit of both for him.
For the Packers.
Yep. Which running back was credited with inventing the spinning dive touchdown celebration in the 1980s?
It's a trap.
It's a trap. You are.
We did have the Iggy Shuffle though.
We did, yeah. See, like they didn't crack.
Some cold cuts.
Some cold cuts. Man, I forgot about that. Get some cold cuts. All right. Last question. Which running back was known as the bus due to his large size and playing style?
That is one Jerome Bettis of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Pittsburgh Steelers and the St. Louis LA Rams, whatever they were.
Yeah, man. I love Jerome Bettis. You said Jerome Bettis earlier, right? He was your guy?
Yeah, love the bus, man.
You were perfect that time. You were perfect. You were 10 for 10. You even got some of them right. I've got, you can't see it, but I've kept the board. You have 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to move it in frame, but I did it. I did part of it right there. That's it for our show today, y'all. Thank you for watching at home. Thank you, King Meeks. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody, thank you. Have great days at work. If you're not working, have great days off. Go check out Jess Benson's show. She's happening on Grind City Media right now. If I can leave you with 2 things today, y'all. Just 2 little things. Remember to be a little bit weird and remember to smile. Bye, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.